Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Mentorship Blueprint. I am so excited because this is the first time that we're in an actual studio. And, this episode really is about recognizing that as mentors, we often find ourselves wondering, am I really making a difference? Am I truly having an impact on this teenager or this young kid, whoever it is that I'm working with? And the truth is, we may never know fully the impact of our presence. But what if we trusted that just showing up could ripple through someone's life in ways that we just can't even see yet? And so
True.
today I'm joined by Nita Marquez, an early participant in the program at New Pathways, who's here to share about the power of mentorship and what that could look like even decades later. And so, Nita, welcome. Thanks for joining me here.
Well, thank you for having me. What could it look like and what it ended up looking like? I'm excited to get to share that. It's been a long and great journey, but certainly an adventurous one. I made it real adventurous for my mentor. But I'm excited to be able to share the impact that you guys have made on my life. It's been an incredible honor. It's definitely been an adventure. I've taken my mentor through hoops I can't believe she went through, but I'm super thrilled to get to honor her today and honor you guys for what you guys have done to impact my life. And even today, I still feel the impact of everything that's been contributed by you guys. So I'm very, very grateful to get to do this.
Welcome to the Mentorship Blueprint, where we empower mentors with the tools, strategies, and inspiration to ignite the potential of our youth. If you're driven by the desire to make a meaningful difference in young lives, you've come to the right place. Tune in as we delve into the intricacies of mentorship, focusing on the transformative power it holds for our next generation.
So thrilled to get to be the first person that you guys are putting in your video episodes. And I'm
Yeah.
also really excited to get to share my my story about the way the organization has impacted me. This is like literally a long time coming. I've been wanting so badly over the years to be able to share with the community as a whole. So it's very exciting.
Yeah. And so, for me, I've worked at the organization New Pathways for 10 years and have seen a lot of transformation. But you have this unique perspective because you have over 3 decades of
Mhm.
having this experience as a mentee.
Mhm.
And so I'm really looking forward to diving into that with you.
Well, the first thing I want to say is I am still very close friends with my mentor. When I was in the program, it was called it wasn't called New Pathways for Youth. It was called Phoenix Youth at Risk. And Kathy Todd was my mentor. And to this day, I still know her. We've known each other through marriages and divorces, building our families. She was with me throughout my collegiate years. She was with me the night that I graduated, which was after 2 times of dropping out. And to be able to say that today, what I'm doing today, I feel really passionate about the work that I get to do. But I feel like being able to be connected to the people in my community, it's a huge testament to what Kathy's impact on my life was. Because first of all, it's not for the faint of heart. You cannot be a mentor if you're walking into it with expectations. And she really stood for what she came in there to stand for. And that, I think that's the biggest thing about me that I really want people to know is I was a pain in the neck. And to this day, I still get a little bit choked up just to think somebody stood by me, even when I gave them every reason to walk away. So that's a big deal to be able to share that. So I think that's what I want people to know most.
Thank you for that. And, I've known Kathy for the last 10 years. She's an amazing woman. And I just recently got to meet you. And so, again, I want to jump into this really cool perspective of somebody who was a teenager, a mentee, joining what was then Youth at Risk, right? But now is New Pathways for Youth. So take us back to kind of that first part of the journey. And, and even before you actually joined the program, like what was just present for you in life? What was life like?
Well, I went through a lot of different stages in my youth. I went to 19 different schools growing up. My mother was 16 when she had me. My father was not interested in being a father. And, you know, there were a lot of very bad people in my mother's life, and my life with her was inconsistent. But when I was with her, there was a lot of abuse, and not by just her hands, but I went through a lot. She ended up getting married to somebody who was he was a criminal and he was a pedophile, as it turned out. And, you know, I spent the biggest part of my childhood being exploited, being abused, and, you know, just basically walking through every day feeling like this is, you know, this is life. This is, you know, you get these sick psychosis developed in your youth when you're in those kinds of conditions, and you just feel worthless. And this is your value in the world. And this is just the way things are. And those are really difficult things to understand, that it's not you. These are bad people that should be protecting you. You don't know that when you're a kid, though. You're just doing what you're told. So, you know, I was very personable. I worked very hard in school. I always wanted my mother to be proud of me. My mother was the apple of my eye, and I just wanted so much to be loved and appreciated by her. And that was, it's just something that was really beyond her. It was not, and this is not like a demonize my mom thing, but just an unhealthy person, even to this day. Just a lot of mental health issues, and unfortunately, I was the one of her three daughters that was the subject of her animosities, and unfortunately, the one that the men in her life got a hold of. And for whatever reason, that was just the way that it was. I was always that one, and I got the brunt of everything. That built somebody who refused to give up, but at the same time, I gave in to those ideologies that this is what I'm for, and this is just life. And I was limited in those ways for a lot of my life. I was boxing myself in without realizing I was boxing myself in. I just thought, this is just what I am. So being sexualized, being exploited, being abused, being ridiculed, shamed on a regular basis, and being talked to that way and treated that way, and you know, the subject of animosities from physical abuse to emotional abuse and verbal abuse, even spiritual abuse. You know, although it built up a lot of tenacity, because I didn't die. And so I just kept getting up every day and going through life. And then I was on my own at 13. She got strung out. So I dropped out that year, and then eventually made my way out to live with her sister for a little while. And then the state picked me up not long after that. I left there, and then the state picked me up in another state. And then I became a ward of the court. And I dropped out, that 1 year, and then I went into foster care, and then I had family members that took me out of foster care, and then I left there, and then I ended up trying to go back to Texas to help my mother get clean. And this is, I'm talking about, like, this is interstate living. Like, I was going from Texas to Arizona to California to Michigan to Arizona to Texas. Oh, well, this is how you're on your own when you're a teenager. You don't know how the hell to do it. You just survive. And that's unfortunately the story for a lot of young people, even in this generation. You know, with people, with parents, they're in survival mode, and they're ignored or abused or shamed and ridiculed, and they don't get any, just even a sense of just acknowledgement that they're human, unless they do something that's going to benefit the person that's caretaking. There's the baseline for a kid like me was shame, and just knowing that I was the subject of this abuse. I felt the shame. I felt that I was wrong. I was, and I was told by my mother, it was always my fault. It was, if you didn't do this. And when she found out that her husband had been molesting and violating me, I mean, from the age of 5 to the age of 12, she finally physically caught him with me in my room when I was 12 years old. And her response after she interrogated me was, "Oh, you must like it. I can't believe you haven't told me all this." So, my baseline was shame. So to come up from shame, then there's depression. And to come up from depression, there's just enough in you to just fight. So I was a fighter. I was angry at the world. Um, and I was disgusted with myself, and I was confused about people. I didn't know who to trust. I didn't trust myself for sure. All I had was survival instinct, and I didn't have anything else except for that. And that's what ultimately became my tenacious spirit. But it like I said, it came at the cost of a lot of rebellion, and I caused a lot of heartache for the people that did try to help me. I mean, I moved back to Texas because she was trying to get off drugs, and I had dropped out of school, and I started waitressing, and I wanted to support us. I was trying to, make a good life with my mom. Because I mean, I loved my mother, in spite of everything. I loved her. I wanted her to love me so bad. And I just would have done anything to help her get clean because I believed in her so much. She ended up relapsing. We got an apartment. I was waitressing, and she was doing this little side job that was in the sex industry. And I'm lucky I wasn't turned out at that point. I'm pimped out. But I came home one day from my job, and she had a bunch of crackheads in my apartment, and they were getting high. And so we got into a fist fight, and it was a whole thing. And I just grabbed my stuff, and I called somebody to come pick me up. And at that point, I think I had left my bedroom window unlocked, and I went back a couple weeks later to get the rest of my things, and I opened the window to my room, and through the blinds, a gun was pointed to my head, and I was 16. And this is the level of rebellion and just ignorance that I had at that point. I heard a man's voice with the gun to my head, and he said, "Who are you?" And I said, "This is my bedroom. Who the fuck are you?" And I mean, I look back now, I'm just like, I had no foresight. I had survival instinct, and my only way to survive sometimes was by being really raunchy with my mouth. I heard him do whatever with the trigger in the back, and he pulled it down, and he goes, "Oh, you're her daughter." So I went back. I went through the window, and I said, "Where is she?" And I went into her room. She'd been sleeping, he said, for a couple of days. And, I got my stuff, and I left. And then, I didn't see her again for a very, very long time again, because it had been a couple years at that point since I'd seen her before. And I think it was maybe about a year and a half later that I met Kathy in Phoenix Youth at Risk. And I'd gone back to Arizona to live with my mom's sister at that point, so I could go back to school. And I was bagging groceries for work. And my high school principal was kind of looking out for me, and he'd heard about this program on the news, Phoenix Youth at Risk. And he called me into his office, and he was kind of looking after me, my vice principal, TJ Jenkins. He was Administrator of the Year in 2003 for Phoenix Union High School District. And he was my vice principal. And trust me when I tell you, a vice principal is an unsung hero. But Jenkins, he was there for all the kids. But he really looked after me, and he said, "Hey, there's this thing. I think it would be a good idea for you to go." And at that point, I had dropped out twice, so I wasn't going to be graduating on time. But I told him, I had gone back to school because I wanted to go to college. And so he said, well, you'd have to go to night school all for the rest of the year. So he helped me get into night school. And then he helped me get excused from my day school and my night school classes to go to Phoenix Youth at Risk. We did the camp. And at the end of the camp, I was paired with Kathy. And I just remember being like, oh, like, really?
Yeah. Well, so I want to kind of just pause for a moment and just say thank you for bringing the vulnerability around what was present for you, because I think it really helps people to understand that, right, the teens that we're serving at New Pathways have been through a lot of adversity, right? And I think something that you point out is that as teens, right, and you at the time, like, you weren't broken. You had years and years of trauma and certain mindsets as well too, because of the things around you, what people were saying, telling you, what I heard, right? I didn't see my sense of worth in there. And I'm so glad that you learned about, at the time, right, Phoenix Youth at Risk, and about this program, because this program really has existed for over 3 decades to help change those mindsets, to help really help individuals to see there are a lot of great possibilities and that there really are caring people. And I think that distrust that you talk about with adults is so real. And I see that in almost all of our teenagers. And it makes sense when you've been through really experiences and hurt and burned by adults, it makes sense. And so, for our mentors, how do they approach that with a space of compassion and recognize that it's going to take time to build that trust? And
If you can, I mean, it may
Yeah.
not happen. It may not happen. It may not happen. I don't think that I developed that for Kathy, even though she stuck her neck out for me, and she kept showing up for me, even though I was a complete pain. So it was, I mean, to the point of, like, just absolute disrespect. I mean, she's so steadfast and so committed to her position and who she signed up to be. It wasn't about, oh, I'm gonna come and fix this girl. I remember the first thing she said to me when she could probably tell that I was just like, oh, really? Like her? She was like, wow. She goes, well, I saw you on the first day and I knew this girl knows who she is. It's like I think what she saw was my biggest ego. I think she was willing to just go. She was like, hey, this kid's got fire, and I don't care if I get burned or not. I'm gonna go over here by this fire. I like what this has in it. So every week we went to meetings for the next year, and I was just like, I don't want to see her. Like, she'd be ringing the doorbell where I was staying, and, like, I'd act like I wasn't there. I think overall I gave her more than enough reasons to walk away, and she just kept standing in her truth, which was, I'm here for you.
Yeah, and that's so real. And as part of the mentor training, we're letting mentors know that these mentees may test you and throw a lot of things in the way, and ultimately, right, like, from what I understand, it's really because they're protecting themselves, saying, I don't know you yet. I don't know that you say you want to be here for me, so I'm going to throw everything at you, and if you make it through, you make it through. But I'm betting that you're probably not, because I don't know that I don't have any real life experience with somebody else that shows that somebody can consistently show up. So I get it, and for a mentor, right, it feels it's really crappy to feel that, but it does take a mentor really grounded in why they're here and why they're doing this, and knowing that it's a defense mechanism. It's not that because they're just trying to be mean, or it's about me as the mentor. It's their stuff that they're going through, and I'm going to hold them in that. I'm going to just create the safe container for them to be that way, and hope that over time, once they really get to see who I am, they'll start to lower those guards and they won't be throwing all these challenges.
Well, you hope. You don't know if it'll ever happen, though. I mean, honestly, like, I did complete the program, and I graduated the program, and then I graduated high school on my 18th birthday. I went to day school and night school all year, and I graduated and got a full academic scholarship to University of Arizona. And Kathy came to my graduation. I mean, I have pictures of her with me in my cap and gown. I but I honestly, like, I was still kind of running away from her. It was kind of like, oh, okay, you're here now. This is a special occasion, of course. But it was like, I didn't want her to know about my life. And like, if I was doing something ignorant, I would say it's an understatement to say that I had an undeveloped ability to bond with people, even if they were showing up for me. I think I was incapable of seeing the possibility that somebody was trustworthy. I was just incapable of seeing it. So as a result, it was kind of like, I'm gonna hurt you before you hurt me kind of thing. I'm gonna bounce before you do kind of thing. I'm gonna before you're gonna hurt me.
Mhm.
Like, I'm gonna hurt you
Yeah.
first. And you're kind of just floundering. And even if you're surviving and winning, I mean, I built a great life for myself. I mean, I have 3 beautiful children. One of my daughters graduated on the dean's list at UC Irvine. My other daughter is in the music industry, and she's a very hard worker. They're all hard workers. My son's in the film industry, and just to watch my children blossom, but to know that it wasn't until like literally like maybe about a year and a half ago that I really started to grapple with these demons about, being, I mean, literally like exploited on a regular basis from the age of 5 to the age of 12, and then ongoing patterns of that activity after by my own devices or in other violating situations. I was so unclear on who I was, but there would be blips where like I would do good things and I would do well. And it's like, I went on, I became Miss Fitness Arizona twice, and I became the national champion for fitness. And I mean, the national champion. I retired 7th in the world out of 46
Wow.
countries. I was very persistent and I wanted to get ahead. But I didn't have the ability to be authentic even when I was winning. And so even when I was winning and building great things and raising these amazing humans that I got to raise, I still had a disconnect with myself.
Mhm.
And I mean, it's really not been until like this past, I would say, decade that, because I went into anger management about a decade ago, that I actually started being able to identify some of these, I guess you call them demons, if you will, that, and wrestle with them and grapple with them and look them in the face and like, you do not own me. You're not going to win. I own me. I'm gonna claim myself. I am going to claim my power. I'm gonna stand in my truth. I'm gonna discover who I am. You're not taking this away from me. I've had it taken away from me for too long. So once I finally started connecting with that, it's like I found peace. And at that point, when I started to understand that about myself, I think that was when I really finally started to develop the most pure and authentic and full appreciation for what she had done, and what anybody had done. I mean, I
Yeah.
have a great aunt that was very motherly toward me. She was the family member that took me out of the foster care. And I made her life hell. Those are the two people in my family that I really I feel the most connected to, and they tried so hard with me, and I think it was not until this past couple years that I was able to be like, wow, like I really appreciate you guys loving me. Like, I gave you no reason to, and you gave me every reason to believe in myself, and I couldn't. And it's, I look at Kathy like that kind of role in my life. Like, here's this person that's fighting for me, and just all I knew how to do was fight, but I didn't know how to really fight for what she was fighting for me. I just knew how to survive.
Yeah.
And here's this person that sees this light in me that I don't see in myself. And it really wasn't until the last, like I said, decade when I started doing this kind of work beyond, in my 12-step programs and anger management and learning how to connect with my breath, just finding just even a blip of peace, because most of us don't get it. We don't know what it looks like. We don't know what it feels like. But when you finally start to connect with that, um, you start to connect with peace, and just you see it, and you just hold yourself, say you're safe now, and it doesn't have to be this ugly anymore. You don't have to keep living like this. You don't have to keep fighting. um, then you finally see that peace and that love that existed in other people in the name of standing by you. And it takes that kind of awakening, I think, for us to recognize what somebody's doing when they're really standing for us. So, I mean, and some people don't make it to the other side in this way. Some people will go to their grave and never know that peace. So if as a mentor, somebody mentors a youth, like the last thing we need is pity. The last thing we need is for you to show up with expectations. It's kind of like, yo, like, I didn't ask for you to be here. And that's going to be our attitudes the whole time.
Wow.
Like, I'm not your like lost puppy. Like, don't try to champion your journey. It's like, I had been through all this and yes, like I'm half white and half Mexican, right? But like I was in the hood at that time. So it was like, you know, I'm like looking at her and I'm like, you know, she's this white woman and she's like all like, you know, persistent and consistent, put together, persistent with me. And I'm just like, she's so weird. And I'm probably going easy on my image because I was way more brutal probably by her estimation if she were to be honest about it. I just know that I did not make it easy.
And that's what I kind of want to focus on for a little bit here is that, you know, you've alluded to not really appreciating or realizing the impact of this relationship back in your teenage years and really other relationships of people who were wanting to support you. And so tell us a little bit more about like what makes Kathy so great or what made her so powerful because again, right, not coming in with expectations, not you know, approaching it from a place of pity. And I know Kathy, I know that's not her. But tell us like what made her so powerful that years later she has this impact.
I think the most powerful thing about her is, you know, and I said this in the speech, she kept showing up. I think it was her consistency without any like, well, I came for you and you didn't you didn't answer the door and, you know, we had our meeting and she never condescended to me. That was really, I think, that's something that has really stuck with me. That this is a person that I was brutally like just disrespectful in a way where it's like this person's really trying to show love and be here for me, and I'm just kind of like on it. She did not employ a drop of like, well, what about this? You know, there was no interest in holding me accountable in the ways that most people would say, well, I'm going to hold that person to account and they need to show up because we both gave our word and da 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 da. There's a lot of people that do that and they think they're doing something right. And I kind of like think to myself, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? If that's your attitude, don't show up anymore. Don't do this kind of work if that's your attitude, because your opportunity to be in a space where a person who's being vulnerable enough to just let you even be in their life, if you're coming into that space and they're dropping their dukes to just even let you be present, like you are getting an opportunity. You know, now like if I experience like disrespect or disregard, or it's kind of like, okay, that's where that person's at. That has nothing to do with me and what I said I'm going to be here for. I am here because I love you and that's it. And I don't have to say it. I stand for it. And it's what you stand for that makes the difference, not how you get to tell everybody what you did or not how that person's going to see you. Or I think that's the thing that she didn't have was an ego to wrap it all up. That's the biggest thing. She had zero ego. She had zero ego invested. It was just pure love and just interest in her own integrity.
And I love that hearing just, you know, Kathy, it sounds like it was very clear in her purpose and her role and what she was here for. And it really was to be of support to you and not that she was necessarily looking for something personally, but really was committed to being on this journey with you. And, you know, you've mentioned many times that you threw a lot at her and she didn't leave, she didn't abandon you. She kept showing up. I'm curious though, is like, was there a moment in time when you realized like, okay, this white woman that's in my life, like she's not going away. And like maybe did you like, I don't know, lower the guard a little bit, like say, okay, maybe I don't need to keep pushing her. But I'm wondering if was there ever a shift when it was like, okay, like she really is here for me and I can maybe stop throwing all of these obstacles in her way. I don't know.
I don't think there was a permanent point until, like I said, until I had that awakening over the past decade. Once I started to meet myself in a truer fashion, I was able to see the truth in these other people that had stood for me. And I was able to really appreciate that and really shower them with love. I think maybe in windows, I would be like really sweet with Kathy. I would be like, oh, that's so sweet. She like came to my graduation and it was the same night as her little brother's graduation, but I will never know to this day how many times she did something for me over her own self-interest. That actually choked me up to say that just now. But that she did it, I know for sure. And I don't think that I knew how to make anybody feel appreciated unless it was one of those sick codependent situations like with my mother, where it's just like I'm laying myself out and letting myself be berated or fighting with somebody, fighting for somebody, So in those cases, I was super appreciative, because when you think the way that I thought, you only appreciate the people that won't show you love. And so that Kathy did, I just don't think that I was steadfast enough that I could say, oh yeah, there was a switch. And then after that, it was really just not until like the last decade, like I said. Yeah.
And so again, right, speaking to kind of this long-term journey and again, I really want to kind of sit with that for a moment, because I think for mentors who maybe are working with a teenager right now for a year, maybe two, maybe a few years, they might be sitting here and going, yeah, I don't know that I feel appreciated by my mentee, or know that I'm even really making a difference, making an impact. And I think for them, I have to oftentimes remind them, like, well, are they responding to you? Are they allowing you to come join them? Are they allowing you to pick them up? Right. So there might be these more subtle ways that are telling us, like, this person is engaged, but they're not fully there yet. Or to your point, maybe even know how to show appreciation, to show love, because they've never had that modeled for them.
Right.
And, so with Kathy, you've had this really decades long relationship. And so tell us a little bit about, like, so you got matched with her as a teenager, you became an adult. So how has your relationship with Kathy evolved over the years, and still connect with her, talk to her?
It has definitely had its inconsistent windows, because I was very isolating, but I think she has done her best to continue to reach out and just check in on me. Even if I wasn't really reciprocal of any energy, I think she just always wanted me to know, hey, how are you? I just want to know how you are, and I'm proud of you, kiddo. And she's always called me her girl. She's always like, oh, my girl, you're doing so great. I'm so proud of you, my girl. That's like been that's something that really is very evident to me, because it's like a thing that she always says. That's like, it's evident, like that's a person that has a truly endearing connection to me, despite my misgivings and inconsistencies over the years. But we both have been through building our families, marriages, divorces, and I think it's just been one of those things where it's like, how you have those friends where it's like, you knew them maybe in high school, and then you see them again, like, at the reunion, then maybe you keep in touch every couple years after the reunion, you might see them, and it's like, wow, like, I know this person still, like, I care about this person still. It's kind of like that, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
And she would check in on me from time to time and just say, hey, I saw your segment, or, oh, I saw you in the paper, or, if I was in a magazine, she'd be like, oh my God, you're in it. Oh, I want that one. I want that one. So something like that. I mean, it's like she wants to see me win. You're there to be who you're there to be. Be that. And just be happy that you get to be that. And she's so good that way. She's so amazing that way. She's just been happy that she gets to just be that person that's like, hey, how you doing? Hey, kiddo, how's my girl? And just happy to cheer me on. She's very down to earth. And ultimately for me, that's the anchoring point that makes me really respect her so, and why I think I'm still really, especially now that I've had this different new relationship with myself in the past decade, just being able to do this work for me, with me, I'm like, wow, this chick has heart. Like, she's got grit, she's got heart. She saw me when I didn't see myself, and like, she wasn't looking for anything out of it. Like, that's the ultimate I mean, I have the ultimate respect for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
And what I want to explore now is it's kind of is this impact, because you've talked about it, right? That she's still showing up, she's still checking in, and again, I think the coolest part of the story is that you have 3 decades
and 3 kids.
and 3 kids, a lot of things in threes, and yeah, like, again, so for mentors listening, they're thinking like, I'm just starting this relationship, I may not see the impact, I don't know if I'm having an impact. For you, even some of the impact hasn't even shown up until more recently. And
Yeah.
so let's talk a little bit about that. What difference has that make? Who are you today? How do you show up in life? Like, tell us a little bit more about just the imprints that relationship that started 3+ decades ago made on you.
She gave me so much to respect in her character and how she showed up. I think that I have, coupled that with, my great aunt, my cousin, these people, and TJ Jenkins, but most specifically these 3 women, as well as TJ. These are people that I'm like, wow, this is what life is about. How these people live. This is what every personal development program, every 12-step program, everything that's about doing, getting to know you is about learning how to live the way these people live. And I just think the remarkable integrity of continuing to show up and having the inner peace that continuously displays, I am peace in this person, and my peace is my power, and my power is my peace. I really believe that. Your peace is your power, and your power is your peace. And these are powerful people. Their power didn't come in the way they put me in my place. Their power didn't come in the way they paved the way and paid all this money and did all these things. Their power didn't come in the way they guided me. Their power came in simply being pure of spirit, having the courage to continue being consistent when I was not, and having the courage to love somebody that had no way of showing that eventually I would ever love myself. That takes such courage, and I have such respect for her for that. And I think that that model has been something that all these years later has become the impression in my character that I seek to nurture the most, because that courage is what helps me, go through the different, challenges that I've gone through, having adult children now, and having these stages where they're, holding me accountable for the things that I didn't do right, and having the respect to say that's been their experience, and letting them have this safe space with me that no matter what, this is not personally about me. You need a safe space, and I want to be that safe space for you. And being able to show people that, you're worth it. I mean, everybody deserves to be loved. Everybody deserves to be safe. Everybody deserves to be respected. And unfortunately, many people who have not received that in their lives don't know how to employ that for themselves. They don't know how to appreciate it from others when it shows up from others. But there are just some people that continue to provide that safe space anyway. And like Kathy's one of those people. And I think that that's what I really desire to show in my work, because I have a personal development company. I have onthemark.com, on the mark with a Q, like my last name, Marquez. I do personal development with my one-on-one clients are typically like, high-level executives, entrepreneurs, former athletes, former military, people with really, really strong personalities who have overcome a lot of trauma, but they've never dealt with it, but they've accomplished. And it's like, we can't win our way out of the pain that's driving us to win. We at some point have to look it in the face. And so the work that I get to do with that is, I'm so blessed and honored that people, these are adults that are inviting me into a space and allowing me the opportunity to create safety for them in this space. Like I said, with my kids, the same thing. And then working in groups now, because I work in mental health and addiction recovery, doing my curriculum, the Champion System. the opportunities that I get to work with groups of people. And I'm here to share this stuff, and I'm not here to look for validation on what I'm doing. I'm just here this is what I'm doing. I love doing what I'm doing. I hope you like it too. I hope you benefit from it. If you don't, also okay. I'm walking into rooms with people that have gone through so much turmoil in their lives, and my only hope is, just like with Kathy, for me, my hope is that person, they can have either a story that's tragic, or they can have a story that turns into a testimony that they touch other lives with. And I really always hope for the latter, of course. Just getting that opportunity to show up in that way and hold a safe space, that people even let me into their space, that to me is such a humbling and huge honor. I think that is the impression that she has left me with over the years.
Yeah, no, I love that. Yeah, so I hear that, a lot of how she was showing up, you really saw power in that, and you, in a lot of ways, wanted to model that, be that, and so it kind of gave you this intention how you wanted to show up in other relationships. And hearing that you're a mom, I talk to our mentors sometimes, and I say, I do feel like we are making an impact on this generation. And I feel like, though, the biggest impact we're probably making is on the next generation. That if these mentees grow up and have kids, hopeful that through our support and what we've helped them with, that they will then have this environment in which they raise their children, and hopefully are able to prevent some of those traumas and adversities that, right, these mentees went through.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious for you, like, now being a mother, having 3 kids, right, full grown, like, what might be different had you have not been in the program, having 3 kids, versus being in the program and having this amazing, consistent adult show up for you? I'm just curious, like, do you feel like that's changed you as a mom? Has that helped support you at all as a mom? Do you feel like, your environment, how you raised your kids, was different than the environment that you grew up in as a child?
Oh, definitely. The environment I gave my kids was totally different, because I always knew that the one thing I really wanted, I knew that from the time that I was little, I just wanted my mom's love so bad. So I wanted my kids to just feel so loved. I wanted them to feel so encouraged. What I didn't understand was that I still had a huge ego, and I wanted them to feel it on my terms. So, unfortunately, and we don't know what we don't know. And until I did that work on myself, like I said, especially since I went through anger management, it's not like I was a bad or abusive mom. I was very encouraging, but it was like, I was very dogmatic. And I tell a lot of people, as a parent, we talk about kids being entitled. There's a lot of entitled parents. Like, they didn't ask to be here. You get the opportunity to be in this little precious, vulnerable human's life, and you get the opportunity to lead. They don't owe you They don't owe you for that. They don't owe you anything. And I always felt like, well, my kids owe me respect, because I never got this from my mom, and they owe me this, and they owe me, and it's like, no, they don't owe us anything. I think, though, that the consistency that Kathy employed and her encouragement definitely gave me something to bring to my family, in terms of, just being at least something of a role model. At least I tried to be. But I always tell people, one of the things that I learned is that my kids were always safe in my care, but they weren't safe in my presence. And there's a huge distinction there that I think a lot of parents miss. Just because I'm protecting you and I'm not abusing you doesn't mean you feel safe with me. And I think that that's a thing that a lot of parents miss, and that it was a huge miss for me. My husband left when I was pregnant with our 3rd baby, but he left when I was pregnant with our 3rd, and I raised the kids by myself completely. I went to California after my son was born, and I raised them by myself for the next 20 years. And my daughter said to me the other day, it was probably maybe about a month and a half, 2 months ago. She said, I know that it was like us against the world, and we always grew up like, you're the coach and we're the team. And I always thought that was great. I thought that was a great, like, rhetoric. I thought, like, this is the way that we are, and you guys get to choose what kind of team members you want to be, but we're a team, and I'm the coach, and you guys are my assistant coaches now. You're getting older. But she said, that whole us against the world thing, she goes, I always thought, she goes, we always thought that's just the way it is. She goes, but honestly, she goes, that was a lot of pressure. And to be able to be open and hear that and be a safe space for her to even feel comfortable saying it. If this was a decade ago, she wouldn't have felt safe to say that without feeling like she's going to have to defend herself because I'm going to be defensive and I'm going to yell at her, or I'm going to be angry, or I'm going to feel unappreciated. I'm going to make it all about me. Wow, she just was so courageous to say that. And I said that to her. I said, that took a lot of courage to say that. So first of all, I want to acknowledge your courage. And she was like, girl, I was bracing myself. I was like, no, I was like, I understood why she was kind of bracing herself, but I felt very grateful that she could say that to me finally without feeling like, an attack or that I felt attacked in response. So I think overall, like I said, just it's given me the opportunity as a mom to just continue to be consistent.
And I love hearing the truth there around this is a continuous journey. And, at New Pathways, there's this great personal development curriculum, and it's all about like the self-awareness. And that's really so important because, somebody being in the program for a year, right, they're not now suddenly changed and suddenly succeeding in life in all the ways they want. It's a long-term journey, and the healing from all that trauma and adversity takes years and years. And I don't even know that anybody could truly heal fully from all of it. And I just love hearing though that you're continuing to have the self-awareness, continuing to challenge yourself in new ways to dive into these patterns that you have and what you're learning from them. And that's so real and so true. And so again, like this long-term impact of mentoring it really is long-term. And again, we may not truly know what that looks like if we're not in a relationship with these mentees for 3 decades,
Right.
And can we trust that we are making an impact, and that in the consistency and the stability and continuous showing up, that it is enough and it's what's needed.
Yes.
And again, I think you spoke so beautifully about that and the power of that and how Kathy has helped show that to you. And love hearing that this journey of being a parent, that you're learning a lot and growing, and to have your children feel comfortable enough that they come and share this vulnerability with you is so powerful, and not something that we saw modeled with your own mom. And I'm sure you've had conversations with Kathy and, appreciation and whatnot. But sitting here right now in this moment, like what feels like if you could talk to Kathy, if Kathy was here right now, like what would feel really important for you to tell her, I guess, about, and I don't even know how to even phrase the question, but just any words that you have around her impact on you, like just what might you say to her? Maybe it's not to her, it's about her.
I mean, I think just the things that I say to her are more in my expression when I'm with her, just in my vibe when I'm with her. It's just there's this utter comfort that I feel around her. Like I feel like it's like, when you have an old friend, you're not trying to applaud them, they're not trying to applaud, you're just together. Again, it comes back full circle to that. There's just this real safe space. I think it's just the experience that we have in that. I don't know that I could translate that to words. I think that it's just, she knows that I feel safe with her. I know I'm safe with her. And that's just like, that's enough. It doesn't have to be like, all dressed up, and, some things are so precious that you can't even give them words. It would almost be like blasphemous to assign words to it because it's just so pure and so its own all by itself. I just would say it just is this isness.
Yeah.
And that's really what life, I feel like that's what it's supposed to feel like all the time.
It's just this way of being. And I hear in there's this ability to be authentic and just to be yourself. What a beautiful relationship to have that with somebody, to just be.
Yeah. And then that's enough. She doesn't have to be trying anything. I don't have to be trying to show her something. And it's just it's enough. Like you said, there's this authentic, there's like this truth of us just both being ourselves, and then that's just enough. We're not like nothing fancy, but we're just being us.
Talks a lot about this trauma that you've had and going through the Phoenix Youth at Risk program right now, New Pathways for Youth Level Up program. And matched with this mentor, she helped really have a lot of impacts on you, many of which you're still exploring and uncovering and learning and figuring out. I guess for any mentors listening, what words of advice would you offer to them as they get ready to embark on this journey, perhaps just for a year, maybe for 3+ decades? But what do you think is really important that you'd want them to know, to understand as they step into this relationship with a teenager?
I got choked up just hearing that, because I just got this glimpse of me being that teenager. There's so much innocence and so much purity in every child. It doesn't matter if they're 19 or 3. There's so much innocence in them. They're still children. And to just honor that innocence. And sometimes that innocence is going to be swinging, metaphorically speaking, and defensive because it has not been regarded. And to just honor that this is a human being, an innocent human being in a process, and just that's all it is. Instead of being like, oh, they're so like this and that. I just think, just going and being like, wow, I get the opportunity, and I'm humbled that I get the opportunity to honor this process. We're getting the opportunity to share the space with this innocent being's vulnerability. And I think that that's like the number one thing that I could say. I think ultimately the best example I can be for my kids or for anybody else is not like, oh, I'm going to be your example, is just to be my best for me. That's it. And show up in the way that I said that I'm going to show up. But
Yeah. I think, again, you mentioned it many times, letting go of those expectations, really coming in with the intention of being a support for this other person, but not expecting anything back. And like you said, you're still figuring out all of the impacts of that relationship from so long ago. Yeah. And I'm sure even decades from now, you'll probably have other epiphanies also. And can we just trust that it is enough? Remind ourselves that we are here to help be a support, consistently show up. And what I really heard in there too is, and be yourself, right? Be real, because that's what these teenagers want, is they want to see the real you. And that includes vulnerability, that includes the shitty things that are happening in your life. But I want to be real with you. I want to be on this journey, and I want to be open to learning along the way as too. I'm part of this process as well. So I really appreciate hearing some of those nuggets in what you shared. And I hope for mentors that are listening that it, maybe brings a little bit of relief of like, okay, I don't have to have a checklist of all these things that we have to accomplish together.
Right.
Can I just show up and trust that it matters and it's making a difference? And even if I don't know fully what that impact is, can I just trust that something is happening, something really beautiful that I just can't see yet? And that's okay.
Yeah, that's absolutely what it is. It's like when you plant a seed in a garden, you're not like going, what's happening right now? You're just like, I'm going to put this in here. I tilled the soil. The sun's going to shine on it. I'm going to keep watering it. And I'm just going to, that's it. Like you said, this is enough.
Well, Nita, I really want to thank you for talking about this with me today. Again, it was such a cool story, and you get to, again, really speak to the power of mentorship. And again, can mentors who are listening just know that it's enough and show up consistently and just be themselves and be real, and the magic's going to happen. And again, your story is a beautiful example of that. So thank you again so much for being here.
For sure.
I do want to also thank our listeners and our viewers. And until next time, take care.